Okay, welcome to the third video of this series about using Google Earth for farming and land management. My name is Steve Gabriel, and in this video we're going to talk about bringing in data from other sources in order to enhance the map that you might be wanting to make and what you might want to learn about your site. So we talked in the first video about just basic navigation and utilization of this program. Second one, we talked about drawing points and lines and shapes, adding images, and using the measure tool. So in this video we're going to talk about some sites that we can visit and bring in really large data sets that inform and help us understand more about our landscape. So we're basically going to talk about three different things. We're going to make a contour map, we're going to do soil, we're going to look at soil data in our Google Earth, and we're going to look at watersheds. So let's start with contour maps. So we're going to look at our web browser here. And so with contour maps, there's a couple different options out there. What I really like is to use this website. These are some folks in Canada who've made this really nice web-based tool. It's just at contourmapgenerator.com. So these folks are from the Adaptive Habitat program, and they actually offer a free tutorial about Google Earth that you can download and open up in Google Earth that helps you assess your landscape, which is really nice. They also do an additional online course and offer consulting if you want to get deeper into the planning process. But it's a nice website to check out. The web link is right up here at the top when you go to contourmapgenerator.com. So what I like here is we can actually generate a contour map. They basically created an algorithm for that. So if I go look for my place, my home, what I notice with the search bar here is it doesn't tend to find my address specifically. It gets a little confused. So what I usually do is look for the closest town to me as a strategy. And then I kind of have to hunt for my site a little bit, which isn't the best, but it's a free tool, so be it. So here I am in Mecklenburg, which is pretty close to our farm, and if I just go down the highway a bit here, here's our town line, and there's Fish Road, which is close to us, so we're kind of, let's see, we're in here, and you can actually toggle between map and satellite, so that helps you find hopefully your property. So here's our property that we've been looking at. Now it says, it has navigation tools here. It says, or steps I should say. So it says once you found it, you can draw a square icon. It's always good to draw a rectangle larger than your landmass. So I'm going to go from the corner road here, and I'm going to go around our property, and that's my area of interest here. And so you could edit this if you need to change it, or you can use the trash module button here to trash it if you don't want to use it. But let's say that works for me. Then I'm going to generate a contour map by choosing my contour interval. So what's really exciting about this is you can make much more detailed maps than you might be able to get from the USGS. So most contour maps are 20-foot intervals, meaning that between each contour line you have a 20-foot change in elevation. And so on our farm we might get 8 or 10 of those lines throughout the whole farm. But you can see here I can actually choose my contour interval. So I'm going to choose 3 feet. And what it'll do is it'll draw that based on the elevation data it has. Okay, now the first time you do this, it's going to ask you to enter your email because they want to capture that for their own interests, which is fair given this free tool. So I'm going to put that in. And now if I click submit, what it'll do is it sends me to their website. If I go back to the tab, now I will see on the Contour Map Generator.com tab that it now allows me to download this information. So now I can, there's my contour map, looks pretty nice, and now I can download it and save it to my desktop. So let me save. I'll just save it as contours. Alright, now we're going to go back to Google Earth. And I go to File, Open, and I'm going to look for that file on my desktop called Contours. Notice it's a KML file, so it's meant for Google Earth. And I can open that, and there we are with our contours. Pretty cool, right? So the coloration that they have on here is really just to give you a differentiation. So the warmer colors are higher elevations, and then it goes down to the cooler colors. And this is 3-foot contours. And you can see on here that there's some weird little blips in the data. Little line here, some round spaces. So this is just normal because it's basically an algorithm that's calculating based on the elevation data on that map software, but it gives you a pretty good representation. And again, what I find is nice is I can navigate around and really start to look at some of the differences. And this is a really great planning tool if you're looking to plant along contour, plow along contour, plant trees, do water diversion or water management. It gives you a really good sense. Now, you know, in the end of the day, a lot of that stuff you're going to end up also mapping on the ground, but it gives you a great opportunity here to plan for it in Google Earth. So now notice that the contour map information is now in my temporary places. So if I want to save that long term, what I really need to do is move it into one of my folders. So I'm going to move it in this demo folder I've been using for this video series. And here we have now our contour information. If I go up to File, Save My Places, then I know it'll be here the next time I look. One thing to point out at this point is after this series of videos, I've only created one folder, and now I have all this stuff. And what's unfortunate about this is that I have now contour information, I have some things I drew, and I have some boundary information. It's all in one folder. And as you build out your map, you're going to be really frustrated if you just have one folder. So what I really recommend is, as you notice your material starting to pile up, go click on the head folder and say Add Another Folder, and make yourself a folder that's, you know, a category that you want to be able to visit later. So let's say that I want my boundary information all in one folder. So now I have a boundaries folder, and I'm going to drag in this boundary information. So that's our boundaries, the neighbor's land, and the survey map. And now I have a subfolder that I can open and close, and I can turn on and off at will. I'm going to add one more folder here for things I draw, and in that folder I'm going to add the stuff I drew in the last video. And you'll find as you add more and more stuff, this is going to really be useful. So whatever categories or ways you want to organize, it's up to you, but it really helps clean things up. And then again, I can toggle things on and off. I can toggle everything on by clicking on the head folder. Or I can just say, okay, I don't want the drawings right now, and I don't want the boundaries, I just want the contour. Or I want the boundary stuff, but I don't want the contour, right? And so that's a nice thing to do periodically through the process. All right, so we've added contour information. Let's add soil information. So let's go back to our browser. A website that's created a tool for this is GELib, GoogleEarthLibrary.com/soilweb. Be careful on this website. These are actually advertisements, so these big green buttons are not the things you want to click on. I've had folks contact me and say they can't find it out. If you've ever used the Soil Web through NRCS on their browser, it's kind of clunky and slow, and it can sometimes crash. So what's really nice is that University of California, Davis created basically this data in a KML file, which is again a Google Earth file. So if you go down below this picture, again, watch out for these buttons you're going to download with Google Earth. You click on that, and you can save that file. And again, it's a KML file. I'll save it to my desktop. And then if I go into Google Earth Pro, and I open it up, again, it'll show up in my temporary places. Okay, and let's reorient. So again, if you want to go back to north, you just click on the N. Now check that out. So on our farm, and if I forget the boundaries of our farm, I can just turn on those boundaries. Maybe I want to turn off the map, but now we look within our farm, we can start to see different soil types, and that's pretty cool. I can zoom in and out, and I can click on it. It'll pop up this map that names the soil and gives us all sorts of great information. And I can drill down. All these things that are highlighted are hyperlinks, and so they'll give us more and more information. So I can drill down into what an Appleton silt loam looks like. It'll tell me some more information in here. If it's considered, you know, what's farmland class is, its drainage class, these sort of things. And you notice for all of these soils, which are part of the map unit here, you can actually click on more information. So most of it we have in here is Appleton soils. If I click on horizon data, it actually drills even deeper. It tells me some of the origins and families that it's in. It gives me a lot of these classes and ratings that are important if you're really drilling deep into. It gives me even things like, for some of the data, some of the plants that are associated with the soil, and some forest productivity numbers. So this is site index for different species, right? And I can keep drilling down. There's just so much good stuff in here that I can look at. And And so this is a really nice and easy way to navigate soil data. And if I want to get back to my map, I just go up to the top here and click on Google Earth again. And so again, you can migrate around and click on different things and explore the soil data in a very easy way. Now again, this is in my temporary places, and what you'll notice is that it only generates the soil data for the area you're looking at. So if I zoom into here, it's actually going to change. And if I zoom out, eventually I get bigger than the area. So I can actually look at a bigger area and it'll regenerate and redraw the information. So if I want to look at a bigger picture, I can just keep zooming out and it'll keep generating. Okay, and sometimes you do need to have an internet connection in order to enable this. You should save it for your site if you put it in My Places. So we're going to take this soil web and we're going to move it into My Places so that I have it for next time, and then go up to Save and My Places, right? You actually see I already have it here, so I'm going to delete my duplication there. Alright, so that's soils and that's contour, so that's pretty cool. And we can look at the interface of these two, of course, if we want to look at a specific part of our site. And oh, I wonder if this change in soil follows contour. I don't know. So no, not quite, but there's some patterns there. Okay. Alright, last thing we're going to look at is water information. So a couple of different places we can get water information. We're going to zoom out here a little bit. All right, this is more of the region here. You can still see where our farm is because we have the boundaries. Let's go back to our browser for a second. We're going to look first at the waters data from the EPA. So again, you can just download this. This is made for Google Earth. It's a KMZ file. And so it's just a zipped file because it's huge. So it helps to compress it. I'm going to save it to my desktop. And then I'll open it up in Google Earth again. Oh, and sorry, the website for that, I should be more clear, is a little harder to find. What I did is actually Googled waters data and Google Earth. But here's the website. If you want to find it, I'll post it on our website to be able to get there. But it's a bit of a longer URL. So if you look for waters data in Google Earth, you should be able to find it. Okay, so we're going to open it up here. It's zooming out, and I want to zoom in again to where I'm at, so I'll just go back into the farm, because again, it's going to have data for the whole US, and so I'm really only interested in what's here. And again, it's kind of a live update, so you can choose what you want to add to this region. So let's add, I want to see what streams they show. Okay, so there's the streams maps. Any pipelines in the area? Doesn't look like it. Pretty sure there's not. Water bodies, okay, so ponds and lakes and that sort of thing that have been identified. Here's marsh that's highlighted. Catchments, so this will tell you your catchment zone. So if we look at our site here, we can recognize that all this landscape is actually in one catchment zone. It's all flowing down to this creek, which is then joining the larger area. And then you can look at larger hydrological units as well, so larger catchments. So all these smaller catchments serving bigger places. And again, as you zoom in and out, it's going to update and give you way more information than you may even be able to digest. So keep that in mind as you play with it. And again, it's nice to be able to turn these layers on and off, because you realize very quickly that it can be overwhelming. So if I just want to look at hydrological units, which are the larger watersheds, then I can zoom out and there's my watershed. And so if I click on that, it'll actually name it. It's the Hencoop Creek, Taganic Creek watershed, and you can actually click on it and it'll give you some information, but it does tell you some information about the area and that sort of thing. So that's pretty cool. And then if there's any linked data, you can also play with that. So for instance, sometimes there's data about water monitoring. So there's a couple water monitoring sites. Here's one for Cayuta Lake, which is close to us. Sometimes there's stream data monitoring. So here's some streams that have some data information that we could go dig into. So that's all US federal information. And again, this is saved in temporary. So if I want to save it permanently, I'm going to drag it up into my main folder. So that's one thing. And then you can check for state data as well. So for New York State, I'll just share what I found. And I would encourage you, if you're in a different place, to look for what you can find. For New York State, we have the GIS Clearinghouse. So there's a watershed map in here. There's all sorts of interesting things like bird conservation atlases and campsites and all sorts of different things you could play with, but we're going to focus right now on this watershed map. So if we go into Dataset Details, if we keep clicking on the name, it'll open it up as a zip file. If I save that to my desktop, okay, what'll happen then is it's a bit different. I just want to show this because I want everyone to know that you can find other data, and it doesn't always have to be in a KML. Okay, so here we are. We're going to go on our desktop. We're going to find that zipped file here, and when we open it up, it expands it, and what we have is a bunch of different file names, but no KML, no KMZ, that sort of thing. So, are we going to be able to use this in Google Earth? Well, let's go back to Google Earth and see what we can do. So, if we open that folder on Google Earth, there's only one that is highlighted, so SHP looks like it might be willing to try to open that. And SHP stands for shapefile. So Google Earth will accept certain file names, most commonly KML files, KMZ files, and SHP or shape files. So let's see if it works. This is the New York State watershed data, and it's suggesting that because there's so many features, maybe I don't want to import all of it, maybe just a sample. I'm going to choose to import all the data. It's asking if I want to apply a style template. I'm going to say no for now, and let's see what happens here. So this is the data for New York State, and if I click on the checkbox, it should, oh, there we go, show us some watersheds. Now, it's not necessarily complete. You can see here it's showing watersheds for certain areas, not for all of them. I'm not sure exactly why, but it does show the watershed for my area, right? And if I didn't know where my area was, as long as I have that home pin, I can go zoom right into it, and there's my data. So again, I can see now that I'm in this larger watershed, and I can click on it, and it will give me some information about it. But if I wanted to map this, then I have this data in here, and I could look at the relationship of these different things. And I've downloaded sub-watersheds and all sorts of different things from Google Earth. And if I want to change and find mine in this long list of things, because I don't know which one it is because they're all unnamed, if I click on it on my map, then it'll highlight it on my menu, and I can go in there and I can say, this is mine. And so here's the dialog box. Here's my watershed. Maybe I want to make it a little transparent, right? Because it's not very useful. So we're going to fill it, and we're going to make it 50%. So now we can actually see our farm and see who else is in our watershed, right? Okay, so really cool stuff. You can see here that it's really advantageous to think about how you organize your folders, because this is a lot of data, especially as you start to bring things in. If we added all this stuff together, you know, we might get a headache, right? We got all this EPA data in here, we got all this New York State data, we got our contour data in here, right? So, you know, organize yourself, think about all these things, and search around on the internet, because there's lots of free stuff available that you can play with and bring into Google Earth.